Hey guys, in this video, we're gonna actually do something a little different. You wanna know how to tease a girl or tease a woman effectively so she becomes more attracted to you. And there's a really great way of doing this that's very natural and that is not sleazy or any kind of pickup artist MO as far as I know, but it will really help you to elevate her attraction for you, whether you've just met her or you've actually been in a relationship with her for a while. So we're going to go into a case study of someone who did my Wake Up to Love program and was able to land his perfect girl within a couple months of finishing my program, and now wants to know how to keep her, how to keep a keeper. So a great way of doing this is by teasing. So if you're new to my channel, my name is Anna Jorgensen. Welcome to Just the Tip Tuesday. So first I'm going to actually just go through his review, I guess, or his feedback on, well, this was the feedback I got on the course, which was actually kind of a question. So if you want to ask a question about something, then please write it in the comments below. I don't consider any questions that are sent to me by email because I get too many emails and I just probably won't see it. So definitely, if you have a personal question, keep it short, but write it in the comments below and I'll do my best to answer it. Okay, so let's get into what he said. Okay, with your help, I've landed who appears to be the love of my life. Aww. She's like a super score, much younger than me, pretty, shapely, and above all, nice and attentive to me. Which is awesome, of course. I will continue listening to you, Anna, because all you've taught me has worked like a charm. Awesome, love hearing that. Those are my favorites. He continues, I had made a list of attributes I needed in a lady to be in a relationship, and Kay, we'll call her Kay, checked every box. I have a naughty on the box, but I'll leave that out. Okay, now at all costs, I have to learn how to keep her. We'll have a comment on that in a moment. While remembering, I found her and could find another if something, dread the idea, should become a deal maker for either of us. True. It's been a month only, but communication is way ahead of my usual 1 month time period. So obviously still in the euphoria stage, but still ahead of where he normally is at this point in his previous relationships. So that's good. Saying no to them is my thing to master. Now, I've done another video, side note here, on how to say no effectively. I'll link that later in the video. In this video, we're going to talk about teasing instead of the saying no. Okay. Her being young, beautiful, and loving beyond belief has nothing, cross that out, has everything to do with this. Keeping her at all costs is a goal. And again, he's mentioned that twice, so I'm going to really talk about that. So being a pushover can't happen. I've done this before and I've been told you never say no to me. I'll be looking for an opportunity. This one cannot get away. So just before I get into my reply, you've probably noticed that, obviously when you find a good one, you tend to be anxious to not want them to get away. And it can really affect your behavior with that person in a way that is a turnoff. So you want to mitigate that part by offering up the nose, as I suggested in my other video, and then also teasing. And there's another way you can also do this, which I'll get into in another video. For this one, we're going to just focus on teasing. And I have a bit of a grovelly voice, not because I've been drinking whiskey, but I don't know why actually. I know I'm not getting sick. All right, my reply. The goal should be to keep her as long as it's good for both of you, but never at all costs. Key point, never at all costs. But he is right in that being a pushover isn't good for either of them. She won't respect him if he's a pushover. She won't know that he has a backbone unless he actually proves that he does. But you have to be able to do this in a way that's not unhealthy or antagonistic to the relationship. So one of the ways you can avoid being or seeming like a pushover is by disagreeing on something, especially if you've been called a nice guy or a people pleaser in the past, or if you know you have those tendencies. So now let's get back to disagreeing. What happens if you actually so far agree on everything? Like you're so seemingly compatible that you're agreeing on everything and you can't find something to disagree on. Well, you make something up. Let me tell you how. But first, just know that, key point, you actually don't and won't agree on everything The fact is, you just haven't spent enough time together yet to know what you do disagree on. But you still need to prove backbone to her earlier on to show her that you do have a mind of your own, that she can respect, that you can think for yourself. So if you haven't found anything to disagree on yet, then you're going to use this next strategy. You are going to disagree with her in a playful, teasing way on something that you might actually agree on. But here's how you're going to play it out. This is best done in person because when you're disagreeing, there's so much nuance in voice, tone, volume, body language, facial expressions, basically everything that you can see visually or even hear auditorily if you are not visual. You will be able to gauge better how far you can push this and how far you can go with this, and whether or not you're actually going to be triggering her in a real way. You don't want to do that. You need to be able to keep it playful and fun and teasing while still elevating her autonomic arousal system, so the kind of fight, flight, or freeze part of our brain, but not so much that she really does get upset or has negative, lasting feeling toward you. So you could say something like, I'm not sure I agree with you on that. Convince me. So you can see that it's playful, and if you throw in a wink, then she knows that you're not actually really necessarily disagreeing with her or being antagonistic, but asking her, offering her the opportunity to convince you. Now, once you've actually been together long enough that you know each other well enough to be able to play this out by text, then you can do that. It's still a bit more risky because you never know what kind of mood she might be in at that moment, unless you for sure know what kind of mood she's in at that moment. But until you really know a person, it's a lot riskier to do by text. You can do this a bit more effectively by Skype or FaceTime or something like that, where you can actually have some kind of visual gauge of her response. So then she's going to defend her argument. And as long as you can see that she's not really upset by it, and she's just like now maybe a little bit more impassioned about convincing you, then you can say something like, I'm listening, or tell me more. So she knows that you're not, again, completely disagreeing with her, but she's got to state her case. So she may continue. And depending on where she goes from there, like if you can see that she's playing along and she's getting that this is a fun tease, or she may not have got caught onto that yet, but she's not angry or going into a bad frame of mind, you could take it one step further by saying, anything else? Maybe with a raised eyebrow. And then in the end, you say something like, well argued, Ashley. I knew you were a smart one. I actually agree with you, but I wanted to see how you'd convince me. So if she's been very good natured about the interaction, then she might like act like she's upset with you, like, oh, you, or something like that. Or, you know, she might play along that she's upset, but isn't really upset, just like you just played like you were disagreeing with her or weren't sure if you were going to agree with her, but you actually do agree with her. Now, if you have done this by text, again, risky, but if you have, then you might want to leave out the last part about wanting to see how you'd convince me, because if she can't see your smug, playful, mischievous, cheeky grin and facial expressions, then she might take it seriously and be turned off that you are testing her. And you don't want her to be pissed off in a bad way, but there is a way to be a little bit ticked in a good way. And as I mentioned before, it's about triggering our basic instinct. There's that basic instinct thing again. It's about triggering our autonomic nervous system, which is tied to our base systems like the fight, flight, or freeze, or the general arousal state. When you are in a state of arousal, like upset arousal, your blood pressure is up, your heart rate is up. It's similar to the reaction you have when you are physically turned on. So if you get her into that state just a little bit, then you can quickly redirect that energy for her into attraction, and maybe even immediate attraction, by saying something like, you know, you're extra sexy when you're spicy like this. And then you might even follow it up by, get over here and give me a kiss. Or, you know, if she's close, better if she is close, especially if you're kind of fake arguing like this or fake disagreeing with her, it's better for her to be closer, because that shows that you are still closer. She doesn't want to start distancing herself. So watch for body language. If she starts like moving away, then she might be more seriously getting agitated by it. But if she's still near you and not moving away or moving closer, then she is not triggered in a negative way, and you can reach over and say, all right, let's kiss and make up. And remember, this is a win-win, because you'll have proven that you have a backbone, you'll have engaged in a fun, playful interaction, and she will feel like she's actually won you over, even though you agreed with her to begin with. And she'll appreciate the compliment. You called her smart, you called her sexy when you were calling her spicy. And it's almost like a neg, which is where you giveth and you taketh away. In this case, you're taking away first and then giving back. So you have to always remember, women are more attracted to men whose feelings are uncertain or unclear about them. Always leave them wanting more. So what's more in this case? More is wanting to convince you or win your approval or win your side or win your favor. And then of course, like as I mentioned, in the end, you always want to break the tension by saying, okay, you've convinced me. Now get over here and kiss me. Or something that breaks the tension, is a funny, and or creates physical intimacy right away. Now, if you've just met her, depending on how her reaction is, you might be able to say, okay, now let's hug and make up. Now, if you're on FaceTime, you could just modify it to say, I wish I was with you in person so we could kiss and make up. So there's always ways that you can modify and adjust the various things that you might use, the phrases, and make them your own so they don't sound canned or fake. And the key point here is to make sure that you never take it too far, because if you get her into a state of being really upset, then that's not good for the relationship, and that will be the lingering feeling she has toward you. And if she actually likes that lingering feeling towards you, if she likes that kind of drama, then that's a red flag. Dude, red flag. And at the same time, keep in mind that even emotionally healthy people do have limits, and we all have triggers. So she might be a keeper, but she's triggered by a certain disagreement because of something that's completely unrelated and wouldn't bother somebody else. And then you need to back off and maybe explore that at another time when she's not so upset. But don't necessarily write her off if it's only that one time. But if it happens again, because if she shows you signs of being easily triggered, you need to pay attention to that. There might be some underlying emotional issues that she needs to work through, and you have to be able to decide if you want to actually work through them with her, or if that might be too much work for you. So we're all flawed. You don't come as a perfect package. She won't come as a perfect package. It's a matter of deciding which flaws are compatible and which things that you can actually work through together, and which things are like definitely deal breakers. Run, Forrest, run. And if you've been with your girl for a while or your woman for a while and things are starting to slag, or you're feeling her starting to pull away, then you definitely want to watch my video on how to keep a keeper or how to keep your woman happy, because there are often things that happen in a long-term relationship that make her start to pull away that are preventable. So if you've been in a relationship for a while and that's where you're at, then watch that video. But the other thing that you can do that triggers arousal in women is the little N word, no. And I've done another video on that and how to deliver no, even if you've just met her, in a way that is effective and builds attraction pretty much instantly. It makes her want to work to get you. So if you're interested in that one, then watch that video here, and I will see you in the next video.